All right, lesson number 2 of Unit 4, represent addition of decimals. So the I can statement, what you should be able to do by the end is say, I can represent addition of decimals using decimal grids. So the problem we're going to think about today is Deja drew a map showing the distances she walked. How can you determine how far Deja walks from home to the bookstore, then to the playground? And then how can you determine how far she walks from the playground to the school, then to the park? So we're just thinking about how could I figure out some of her totals. Now the first one is home to the bookstore, then to the playground. So again, like last lesson, we're thinking about an equation. So if P is the distance she walks, then we could say, okay, well, I have this, and what can I do with those to get the total distance she walks? I can add them because it's just combining the two numbers. So 2/10 plus 3/10 equals P. So in your notes, go ahead and write one strategy for adding decimals is using decimal grids. Or you can even just write decimal grids. So to sort of visualize what's happening and how big the numbers actually are using decimal grids. So I'll show you on the next page. So how to use it. So they're going to show you here. And I want you to shade in on your notes what you are seeing in this little video. So they have the 2/10. Go ahead and shade in the 3/10. So 3 out of the 10 bars under 3/10. And then they'll show you how to get the sum. It's pretty simple. It's really just taking the 2/10 and then 3 more. All right, pretty basic. We're just combining. You can use the same colors if you want, but do go ahead and shade that on your notes. So then we have the sum. How would I write that as a number? Well, I would write 5/10 because I could just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of the 10 gives me 5/10. So now, if we're thinking about, same thing. Home to bookstore, bookstore to playground. How far does she walk? There's the completed 2/10 plus 3/10 equals 5/10. So then just putting it in a sentence, Deja walks 5/10 of a mile. All right, now we're doing playground to school, then to the park. So notice now we don't just have tenths, we also have hundredths. So how could we write an equation? Well, if D is how far she walks from the playground to the school to the park, again, I'm going to add them together because I'm getting the total combined. They're not equal groups, so just adding. 33 hundredths plus 25 hundredths equals S. Should say D. Sorry about that typo on the people who made this. All right, so again, we can use decimal grids. So this time you have it entirely blank, so just go ahead, shade in as you watch how they use them to get the sum. So here they color in 33, just like we do on our calendar math, and then we have 25. So then filling them in on the same chart shows the total, right? And then we could count and say, okay, instead of counting one by one, I'm just going to count the rows. And I could say, oh, it went away. I think it shows on the next one. So let me skip to the next one. There we go. All right, there we go. So now we can see, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 full rows, and then 8 more. So we have 58 hundredths is the sum. And if this feels basic, that's okay. We're getting a visual so that we can sort of have that in our brains as we move on to not always using the visual, but we'll at least have it to sort of rely on in our brain. 58 hundredths. So then again, if we were going to put it in a sentence, we could say Deja walks 58 hundredths of a mile. Now, I would color it in a little differently, which I'll show you on some of the practice. But decimal grids is a good way to represent adding decimals. All right, we're going to go ahead and go to the next one, do some practice. So you have charts on your notes so that you can actually color them in. Again, getting that connection in our brain to the visual. All right, so 7/10 plus 1/10, go ahead, color them in and choose what you think. All right, so I would say, okay, 7/10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to go ahead and add the 1/10 right on the same grid. So then we can see how much is it all together. It's 8/10. Just for kicks, we'll put it in here. Ding, yep, so just the 8/10 we can see. 8 out of the 10 are colored in. All right, go ahead, use your grids to find 5/10 plus 8/10. All right, hope you got it. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to do 8 more. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Notice how I filled up the whole one, and then I had to go to the next one. So then I could say I have 1 whole, and I also have 3 more tenths. So then I would say 1 and 3/10. Right? All right, go ahead and use your grid for this next one, 200ths plus 900ths. All right, hope you got it. So if I have 200ths, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then all together, I have that full row and 1 more, so I have 1/10 and then another 100th, or I have 11/100ths. But notice how it didn't, I couldn't write both the, like the digits in that one spot, so I did have to like move it over. Right, 11/100ths, 200ths, 900ths, 11/100ths. All right, this last one, go ahead, figure out 78/100ths plus 64/100ths. All right, hope you got it. This is going to take me a second to color in because I have to click each box individually. So I'm going to do 7 full rows. There's 3. I tried to find a quicker way to color this in. You have a quicker way. You can just like on your chart, but this does not like it if I try to do this. It just moves the screen up and down. All right. 6, 7, and then 8 more. All right, now I'm going to start in a new row for my next one, because then I can just do 6 full rows, and then I'll show you what I do with the 4. So I'm not going to leave those blank. I'm just going to leave them blank for now, so that I'm not going 61, 51, 52, 53, 54, because it's really easy to get off count if I do that. Thanks for hanging in there. All right, so that's 5. So this is the 60/100ths, and then I still have 4 more. So I'm going to do these 2 over here, and then 2 more over there. So that way I wasn't trying to like count as I went. I just did the full rows, and then I filled in the little blanks. So I have 1 whole. I have 4 rows, which is 40, and then 2. So I'd have 1 and 42/100ths. All right, if you have questions, make sure you ask. Good luck on your practice.